नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरस्य ज्ञानजनशालाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते स्वामिने नमाचार्यपदाय नताय गौरकथाधामदाय नरेन्द्राय नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिने नाम्ने नमस्ते सारस्वती गौरवाणी प्रचारणे नृत्य शून्यवादी पारिजातदेशतारणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, 24th verse. स निश्चयेन योक्तव्यो योग निर्विण्ण चेतसा संकल्प प्रभवान कामां त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् अशेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रिय ग्रामं विनियम्य samantata. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Purport: the yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsahan Nishchayat Dhairyat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat Sato Vrittehe Shadbhir Bhakti Prasiddhyati. One can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, determination, by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. Upadeshamrita, third verse. So Upadeshamrita gives all the points of whatever we need to do to get perfection and bhakti. So the third verse is talking about what are all the qualities we should have. The very first thing is enthusiasm. If we are enthusiastic, then we feel like doing, isn't it? Krishna consciousness. Oh, I have to get up and chant. We don't feel that, oh, tomorrow I have to get up and chant. Oh, that's... So enthusiasm can even wake up someone who's very sleepy and feeling dull. But if you're enthusiastic, no, I must become Krishna conscious. I have to become perfect. And nischayat, and perseverance. So we may fall down, we may keep tripping, but again and again we should persevere. No, I must become perfect in Krishna consciousness. That perseverance should be there. And determination that no matter what, I have to get success. By following the prescribed tat karma pravartanat, that means follow the prescribed duties. Whatever is the rules and regulations set by Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON, we must follow that. Sangat Tyagat, giving up the association of non-devotees and taking the association of devotees. Sato Vrittehe. And by engaging completely in the activities of goodness. Then Shadbir Bhakti Prasiddhyati. Shadbir, these 6 things will definitely give us this thing, success in bhakti. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird, and so he um, uh, came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Whether this story is true or not, one thing is very evident, that anybody tries his best. We may be like sparrows, and it may be seem like a real dream to become a perfect devotee. When will I become a pure devotee? It might seem like an impossible task. But if we try our best, and then, like Garuda, Krishna will be there to help us make progress, and he'll suddenly elevate us, and everybody will be surprised. How we will be surprised the most. How did I give up all my, sins, even the desire to commit sins, all sinful reactions, everything has gone away. It is only by the mercy of Krishna. So even if we are determined and we are like sparrows, by the grace of Krishna, we can achieve everything. I mean, all perfection. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially bhakti yoga and Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. So that is the secret. In yoga, of course, here Krishna is not saying that. He's saying that one should practice yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. So this is for the yogi who's trying to struggle on his own. And in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining about how in Bhakti Yoga, it may seem like a very, very difficult task, but if we are determined, then we'll get the mercy of Krishna. So that is how Bhakti Yoga is much easier and much, sure of success, because we have the help and support of Lord Krishna. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti Yoga in Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. We do our bit, and rest Krishna will put in. And once he helps, then that's it. We'll definitely be successful. Shane shaner uparamed buddhya dhriti grihitaya atmasamstam mana kritva na kinchid apichintayet. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. By proper conviction and intelligence, one should gradually cease sense activities. This is called pratyahara, the mind being controlled by conviction. Meditation and cessation from the senses should be situated in trance or samadhi. At that time, there is no longer any danger of becoming engaged in the material conception of life. In other words, although one is involved with matter as long as the material body exists, one should not think about sense gratification. One should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self. This state is easily attained by directly practicing Krishna consciousness. That is the amazing thing, that the world saw how Prabhupada made young people become mad after Krishna and strong in Krishna consciousness. How did he do this? Youth who were fully lost to material sense pleasures, drug addiction, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, you name it, or everything. They were steeped in that, full of sense gratification. And all such people, he made them into yogis very quickly. How? By giving a superior pleasure of bhakti, of by his association. He created an interest in them in chanting Hare Krishna mantra. And just by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, they became so elevated. So that is how um, this, I mean, the process is same, step by step, gradually, step by step. One should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction. So the intelligence plays a very important role. Intelligence must be filled with conviction. So that's why we need to, this whole process is called Buddhi Yoga, because we have to use our intelligence. Otherwise, we cannot sustain ourselves for long in Krishna consciousness. Why should I do this? Why should I control my senses when I can enjoy myself? I can have some pleasure. What is wrong? I will also chant. I will also enjoy myself. I mean, enjoyment is there, but in the proper way, not sinful activities or not excessive sense gratification. But if we are convinced by intelligence why we should do this, then it will be easy for us to direct the mind. No, I don't want it. Then intelligence is strong, then mind will just melt away. It will have no, I mean, it will follow the intelligence. At that time, so one should gradually cease sense activities because of the intelligence and conviction. This is called pratyahara. The mind being controlled by conviction, meditation, and cessation from the senses should be situated in trance or samadhi. At that time, there is no longer any danger of being engaged in the material conception of life. In other words, although one is involved with matter, as long as the material body exists, one should not think about sense gratification. One should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self. This state is easily attained by directly practicing Krishna consciousness. Yato yato nischalati manaschanchalam astiram tatastato niyamaitad atmani eva vasamnayet. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Purport: the nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady, but a self realized yogi has to control the mind. The mind should not control him. One who controls the mind and therefore the senses as well is called Goswami or Swami, and one who is controlled by the mind is called Godasa or the servant of the senses. A Goswami knows the standard of sense happiness. In transcendental sense happiness, the senses are engaged in the service of Rishikesha or the supreme owner of the senses, Krishna. Serving Krishna with purified senses is called Krishna consciousness. That is the way of bringing the senses under full control. What is more, that is the highest perfection of yoga practice. So Krishna is telling for Ashtanga yogis, and Prabhupada is explaining it in terms of our Krishna conscious process. So here, Krishna, this is true for both. Krishna is saying that wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, why does it go? Because of so many material desires of sense gratification, it keeps wandering there. Whichever we think is very enjoyable, we like to spend our time meditating on that. But we know, why should we not think of things like that? Sense gratification. Why not? Because it doesn't exist at all. Whatever you're meditating on, it's only in the mind. And whatever you've experienced before, it's no longer there. So, what is this pleasure that the mind is seeking? It's something illusory. And how much ever, if the mind gives you some kind of inspiration to engage in some sense gratification, but after doing that also, you're not satisfied. I thought it's going to be great and it's going to give me great happiness. But at the end of it, you don't get anything and only misery, because we become attached to even sinful activities at the cost of, something pleasurable, which may not be right also, but we become addicted to it. And then we don't know how to get out of it. So when our intelligence becomes strong because of spiritual practices, because of serving Krishna, then it's full of conviction, determination. No, I will not do it. I'll control the mind. Then the intelligence, if it's strong, then it can easily control the mind. But if the intelligence is not, we don't know why we have to do it. Somebody told me, so I'm doing it. That is also good if you're really attached to following that person out of love and devotion. Guru tells something, don't do this. Okay, we don't know why we shouldn't do it, but Guru has said, so I won't do. That's also very good. But as we progress, we'll also come to know why we should not do it. Then the intelligence becomes very strong and we'll never fall down. That's very much required, because there were some devotees, when as long as Prabhupada was there, they were all following very nicely. The minute Prabhupada left the planet, then some of them fell away from the path. That means they didn't have the intelligence, had not been fully convinced about it. They're just following it due to some sentiment that, okay, Prabhupada has said, so I'll do. And then as long as they could see Prabhupada, they thought, Prabhupada is here, and they were following it. When Prabhupada left, it's not that he's not here, he is here spiritually, but they didn't have that kind of conviction. So gradually they fell down. So that is why we have to ourselves also get the realization. Then nothing can again makes us fall down. So one who controls the mind and therefore the senses as well is called Goswami or Swami. That means he's the Lord. Swami means what? He's the Lord or the master. He's the master of his senses, and that is everything. One who cannot control his senses cannot rule the world. You know, always India was the seat of the the headquarters of the whole world. It was ruled from India. Why? Because here were Raja Rishis who were so fully self-controlled, and so they could exert their influence over the whole earth. And what was their motivation? Not to just become conquerors and feel, ego satisfaction, I conquered the whole world. It was only to ensure that Sanatan Dharma was followed properly everywhere. If there was any king who was not following it or harassing their citizens and not taking care of their spiritual welfare also, then they would attack and defeat the king and put somebody else instead of him on the uh, throne. Not that they wanted to take away the kingdom and say, now all your money we are going to take away. That was not the intention at all. So Goswami knows the standard of sense happiness. In transcendental sense happiness, the senses are engaged in the service of Rishikesha. Why Rishikesha? Rishika means senses, Isha means controller. So Krishna is the controller of our senses, and so we serve him, or the supreme owner of the senses, Krishna. Serving Krishna with purified senses is called Krishna consciousness. That is the way of bringing the senses under full control. What is more, that is the highest perfection of yoga practice. So that we can easily do by worshipping Krishna. Prashantamanasam hi enam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahmabhutam akalmasham. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. Brahmabhuta is the state of being free from material contamination and situated in the transcendental service of the Lord. Mad bhaktim labate param. Bhagavad Gita 18.54. One cannot remain in the quality of Brahman, the Absolute, until one's mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. Sarvai manaha Krishna padara vindayu. To be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord or to remain in Krishna consciousness is to be factually liberated from the mode of passion and all material contamination. So here, the Krishna is now telling the yogi, when he's made further advancement, he is saying that is the Ashtanga yogi, whose mind is fixed on me, verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He's beyond the mode of passion. He realizes, so as we go towards, the self, towards realizing the self, then what happens? We get transcendental happiness. We are establishing ourselves on the platform of the soul. Until then, the yogi has to really struggle, because he has not yet, at this point only, he is experiencing some transcendental happiness. Ashtanga yogi. After some time, when he's controlled his mind and senses and fixed on, now he's fixed on me, Krishna says, they also realize the Paramatma, right? Then they attain the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the modes of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. So we can see what removes the karma completely is to realize our relationship with Krishna and our identity as soul. Krishna is also pure spirit. I am also pure spirit. Okay, then no more karma, just by realizing this. And that is what we're trying to achieve through chanting Hare Krishna mantra also. So as we chant Hare Krishna mantra, we are able to focus more inwards, right? Before, maybe on a weekend, if we don't go out and just go somewhere driving and go to the theater and this and movie, restaurants and friends, enjoy, we would think, oh, life, I can't be without doing that. But as you start chanting Hare Krishna, then you got a greater pleasure, right? This is what happens to people. Not that, okay, uh, because you're getting a higher happiness from within, then you want to engage in Krishna consciousness. Then on the New Year's Eve, what were devotees doing? They went on a Rath Yatra so that we took Gornitai in the car and took them all over Koramangala, so that everybody can be benefited on Happy New Year's Day by seeing Gornitai. Because many of those who are pious, they on the first morning, they go to the temple to get blessings. And some others who don't have any knowledge, what do they think? If they stay up late and get drunk, that is the best way to celebrate, do Happy New Year. How are you going to be happy if you start the new year by getting drunk? So anyway, but they also, so that why is it that devotees were getting happiness in just going around with Krishna, distributing prasadam, distributing pamphlets, giving books, talking to the people? That is transcendental happiness. And the others, in material happiness, you think, just getting drunk is great happiness. That is tamoguna. That's in mode of ignorance. And so when we go beyond the mode of passion, then we can realize our qualitative identity with the Supreme, that I'm a spiritual person. We are spiritual beings. And then we are freed from all reactions to past deeds. As long as we are thinking, I'm this body, I'm this mind, and we are trying to enjoy with our body and mind, karma is very much there. We have to endure the reactions and the pushings and pullings of our mind. It's all because of identification with the body. But the minute Sarvai Manaha Krishna Padaravindayo, if you are fixing on the lotus feet of the Lord, and to be always engaged in the transcendental loving of service of the Lord, or to remain in Krishna consciousness, is to be factually liberated from the mode of passion and all material contamination. So, this is what we have to try and elevate our consciousness from first tamoguna, where we are very lazy about spiritual life. From there, we go to rajoguna. We are very active, we are doing spiritual life. Along with that, we have a lot of mode of passion, desires for, subtle maybe, we still have a lot of material desires, as well as we also want spiritual. I mean, we are going up because we're engaging in a lot of devotional service, but it is not fully focused on Krishna. We are enjoying doing that service. So I'm doing it, and I want some material benefits also out of that. That's mode of passion. But as we concentrate more and more on Krishna, and we elevate, so then what happens? We are not thinking of all these material results and sense gratification. I'm thinking, by this service, I want to become dear to Krishna. And we are thinking of pleasing Krishna rather than all our sense gratification. Oh, how nicely I'm doing. See, I'm painting beautifully. Tomorrow, all the devotees are going to come and say, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, what a great artist I am. This is mode of passion service. You're doing service for Krishna, but you also are meditating on these other things, name, fame, all popularity, position, wealth, power, these things. That is mixed mode. Bhakti mixed with Rajogun. But as we become, suppose we do most sincerely, who cares what anybody says? I don't want to be noticed or anything. I just want to do a very nice painting for Krishna. And if no one knows who did it, also, it doesn't matter. I feel happy that I'm doing it for Krishna. Then what happens? You get you get transcendental loving service to the Lord. It's in the mode of goodness. It's beyond passion. And then you're liberated from the mode of passion and all material contamination. Okay. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmasha sukena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukamashnute. Thus, the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. Self realization means knowing one's constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme. The individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme, and his position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. This transcendental contact with the Supreme is called Brahma Samsparsha. Touch. Sparsha means touch. So we are touching the absolute. So the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. So everything is an internal activity. That's why people don't know how devotees are very hardworking. Of course, physically also they do work. It's not that only mental or something spiritual within also. But then more so devotees are all yogis basically, and especially Bhakti Yogi also. A lot of hard work has to happen within. If we just do physical work, oh, I did whole day, I'm just doing all seva to Krishna. But internally, what you're thinking about, that is more important. Suppose you did physical work whole day, mentally you were thinking of something else. Then how have you made progress? Isn't it? So internally we have to be very hardworking, trying to think, control our mind and senses. Who am I doing it for? What's the purpose of my doing? Let me dedicate myself to Krishna. Let me, think about Krishna. Let me do everything for his satisfaction. That is what we are elevating our consciousness to, and his position. So, for that, our intelligence also should be fully convinced. Yes, this is reality. Reality is to understand that Krishna is the source of everything, and I myself am part and parcel of him. And right now, I've got this material body, I've got my duties, and I should use everything in the service of Krishna. I should be meditating on Krishna. And then you'll see all material things will become very easy because everything is flowing upwards towards Krishna. When we put a block to it and try to divert it elsewhere, I mean, that is when we have to struggle hard. But if we naturally want to offer everything to Krishna, the whole system, the whole universe will support and help us. So that is what our position is, to render transcendental service to the Lord. This transcendental contact with the Supreme is called Brahma Samsparsha. So when we do service to Krishna, or we're chanting, that is also serving Krishna because we're glorifying his name, or we are making cooking food and offering to Krishna with love. That's great service to Krishna. He doesn't need to eat anything, and that too not a material food. But if you put devotion in it and offer it to Krishna, Krishna accepts it. He's very happy with our devotion. And then he gives it back to us because he's also accepted it. The food has become nectar, it's become transcendental. And by eating that transcendental food, we are purifying our consciousness. Just imagine what a wonderful method. It's very sublime, and it gives us full satisfaction of achieving. We are doing Brahma Samsparsha from the very beginning. That is why Bhakti Yoga is very, very I mean, it is a susukam kartum abhyayam. It gives us great pleasure from the very beginning of our spiritual life. We are doing all these, engaging in activities in service of Krishna. Just chanting itself brings us in the purview of Krishna. We are in his radar. We're chanting his names, and Krishna is aware of us. He's listening. He's very, very happy. And then we are engaging in other services, whatever it may be, making boga or other, what cleaning his temple, or selling books for him, for so that other people, helping others become devotees. All these things are very potent, and then we brings us in contact with the Lord. Brahma Samsparsham. Hmm. And achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. So when we perfectly serve him, we will be in perfect happiness. Now we get some happiness based on how much purely we have done. We simply did it because I want to serve Krishna. Then you will be in bliss. But we also want certain other things, then our bliss is a little adulterated also. Our motivation is adulterated, bliss also is adulterated. But the more we try to give up all these material contaminations with full conviction, that is not the state to be. There is no happiness in putting all contamination into our mind. What is the big happiness? There is just ignorance to think that I can feel happy with contamination. Just like the pig, it doesn't know what it's doing. It's eating stool, abominable food, and it's thinking it's very happy. Oh, I'm drooling on it and enjoying itself. But actually, I mean, it's filth. So we don't want any kind of stool like material sense gratification, which is very, very polluting and taking our consciousness away from its original pure consciousness, able to meditate. Imagine Brahma Samsparsha. We're in the same quality as Krishna. That is what we are. We are so great. And we are putting our consciousness so low and thinking about material, getting happiness out of squeezing some sense gratificatory things. So that is how the intelligence has to be convinced completely. Then we can control the mind, and then gradually we will get Brahma Samsparsham, contact with the Lord. And especially in Bhakti Yoga, we are getting it from the very beginning. As we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're already contacting the Lord. When once you chant Krishna, you're already noticed by Krishna. Okay, Here is my devotee, is chanted my name. And as we progress, more and more we'll realize I'm not this body. This is just a dress. And I, the real person, is within. And that is when we will start experiencing happiness from within. That's very much required. Otherwise, we will also be tempted to, okay, we'll be chanting Hare Krishna, but we'll be waiting, oh, when are the 16 rounds going to be over? I want to go and do something and enjoy myself. So it will be like that. In the beginning, it's a struggle because the senses are telling, oh, take me somewhere. Not sitting and quietly chanting Hare Krishna. It's so boring. That's because we are so used to sense gratification. But as we chant the name of Krishna, we are getting purified. Senses are also getting purified. And then, oh, very nice. I want to chant. Yeah, yeah. I'm waiting to chant. So that is the change that takes place because of chanting the holy names. And we realize, actually, I'm not this body and I'm soul. And we're getting happiness from the soul platform. Okay, we'll stop now. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Dandavat
Mataji, is it okay to place Krishna and Guru in that mode? If we do service, is that in the mode of goodness, Mataji?